Title: The Millionaire Farmer Rescues a Young Girl from Misery After She's Kicked Out of Home. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, an eerie silence hung over the old farmhouse, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves, stirred by an unseen breeze. Strange shadows flickered across the cracked walls, as if the house itself held secrets desperate to be uncovered. Every creak of the floorboards echoed like a whispered warning, while outside, the distant howl of a lone wolf sent chills down the spine. Something was undeniably wrong, a hidden truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. The air grew thick with anticipation as unexplained lights danced in the darkness, and the townsfolk's hushed rumors spoke of an ancient curse that no one dared to challenge. In this secluded farming town, the millionaire farmer, Thomas, stood isolated on his vast yet dilapidated land, burdened by the weight of his late wife's haunting memory. He was a man surrounded by abundance, yet loneliness wrapped around him like a frigid fog. He had been gripped by grief and the legend of a family curse that loomed over all he touched. Lost in thought, Thomas didn't notice the faint figure on the horizon, a young girl with messy hair and torn clothes, drifting like autumn leaves. Ellie had scorned the rigid expectations of her family and was now cast out, abandoned and alone. Her heart ached with a loneliness that matched Thomas's own. She stumbled onto his property, not knowing she was stepping into a place of both refuge and mystery. When their eyes met, a spark ignited. It was as if destiny had woven their fates together in its unseen hands. "Can I help you?" Thomas's voice came out gruff, softened by the curiosity in his tone. Ellie's gaze fell to the ground, the weight of rejection heavy on her shoulders. "Just looking for a place," she murmured, looking back at him with wide, fearful eyes. That day marked the beginning of something neither had anticipated. As Thomas made the extraordinary choice to shelter Ellie, every laugh and tear they shared began chipping away at the walls they each had built. Together, they toiled to revive the neglected land, each touch of their hands unearthing not just soil, but buried secrets and shared pain. In the dirt, hope began to sprout. Just when the budding friendship felt like it would blossom into something more, a shadow fell over their sanctuary. A sly real estate tycoon, hungry for Thomas's hidden wealth, caught wind of his private estate. With cunning schemes brewing in his mind, he threatened to rip their new life apart, just as Ellie was beginning to feel accepted. As thoughts of family haunted Ellie, rippling through her heart like dark waters, a mysterious letter slipped through the cracks. Of their fragile world, it held a secret, one that intertwined their lives and threatened everything Thomas believed about his own lineage. With Ellie's family lurking just outside and a threatening figure circling their haven, uncertainty seemed to gnaw at the edges of their newfound joy. Ellie felt the weight of her past rise inside her, while Thomas stood poised on the threshold of new beginnings, buried under the burden of solitude once more. Then, without warning, the sudden arrival of an unexpected visitor sent ripples through their sanctuary, leaving Ellie wondering if she could ever truly escape her past, or if fate had something more sinister in store. The air crackled with tension. What would happen next? Would they reclaim their dreams, or would the shadows close in once more? Chapter 2. Unraveling Truths. The tension hung thick in the air, a living thing pressing down on them as Thomas leaned closer to Ellie, who was staring at the horizon, her face a mask of confusion and fear. She felt a tremor run through her, fueled by unbidden thoughts of home and the fragmented memories of her past. Just then, the gate creaked open, and a figure strode up the path. Silhouetted against the waning light, Ellie squinted, her heart racing. "Who's that?" But before Thomas could answer, the newcomer stepped into view. It was her brother, Mason, a specter from her past, clad in dark clothing, his eyes gleaming with something unsettling. A moment of panic gripped Ellie. "Mason?" Her voice shook. "Ellie!" he called, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "You didn't think you could hide from us, did you?" The mocking tone cut through the evening's quiet, sending goosebumps crawling up her arms. "Why are you here?" she whispered, the world around her tilting on its axis. "I came to bring you home." He took a step closer, his shadow stretching ominously. "Father's worried. It's time to come back to the family. We're stronger together." Thomas stood frozen, confusion swirling in his mind. He felt the familiar weight of grief press down harder. "She doesn't want to go back," he interjected, stepping protectively in front of Ellie. Mason smirked. "Oh, but I think she does. And you should know, Thomas, that sometimes family means everything." His gaze bore into Thomas, a silent warning like a wolf sizing up its prey. Just then, a rustle in the nearby bushes broke the tension. All three turned in unison, hearts pounding. A moment later, an envelope flapped in the breeze, landing at their feet. Mason bent down to pick it up. His eyes widened as he read the words, "The truth will set you free." Panic surged in Ellie's chest. "What truth?" she demanded, her fingers trembling. Mason's face twisted in anger. "This isn't supposed to be here." He ripped the letter open, and what he found made his face go pale. This can't be real." Thomas felt the ground shift under him. "What does it say?" he pressed, fear creeping into his voice. Mason hesitated, a storm brewing in his eyes. "It says Ellie's mother isn't who we thought she was, and she's tied to this place." Ellie's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Your mother, she used to live here with a different name," he said, voice trembling. "There are secrets in this land, Ellie. Secrets that could destroy everything you thought you knew." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. The shadows around them warped and twisted, the old farmhouse looming larger, as if it were a specter itself. Ellie stumbled back, her mind racing. Could it really be true? Was she bound to this land by blood? And before she could grasp the reality of it, Mason's phone buzzed violently in his pocket. He pulled it out, eyes darting as he read a new message. "They're coming," he whispered, terror sweeping across his features. "Who's coming?" Thomas asked, his voice sharp with alarm. Mason met Ellie's gaze, his expression shifting from contempt to desperation. "The family. They'll do anything to bring you back, even if it means hurting him." The ground felt like it was shifting beneath them. The whisper of danger lingered at their heels. Ellie clutched Thomas's arm, her mind tangled in a web of fear and confusion. As darkness fell, an unseen storm loomed on the horizon. Would the truth bring them together or tear them apart? With every heartbeat, Ellie felt the weight of destiny pressing in, leaving her to wonder one chilling thought. Who was she, really? Chapter 3: Shattering Revelations. The air crackled with unease, and Ellie felt a knot tightening in her stomach. What was Mason really after? His eyes shifted nervously. Like a hawk ready to swoop down on its prey, she clutched Thomas's arm tighter, seeking comfort. But the old farmhouse loomed ominously around them, its walls seeming to close in. "What do you mean, family?" Ellie demanded, voice quivering. The shadows shifted. As the sun dipped lower, and with it, Ellie's chance to escape, Mason chuckled darkly, his expression shifting from anger to something more sinister. "You don't even know, do you?" His voice dripped with contempt. "You were never just a simple girl. You're part of something much bigger." Thomas stepped closer, eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" "Let her go, Mason," Thomas said firmly, protective instincts flaring up. But Mason's gaze flickered with a cunning glint. "What if I told you," Mason said slowly, each word slicing through the silence, "that Ellie isn't just connected to this land, but that she is the key to it?" "What do you mean?" Ellie's heart raced, panic rising in her throat. "I don't understand." A smirk crossed Mason's face. "You will, but first." He paused, glancing back toward the trees. Suddenly, a sound shattered the evening calm. Tires screeching, loud and menacing. "Mason!" Thomas shouted, eyes wide with alarm. "What's happening?" "They're here," Mason hissed, backing away. "And they want her." In a flash, a black SUV barreled down the gravel path, dust flying behind it. Ellie felt her heart pounding against her ribs, each beat matching the sudden thrum of reality crashing down around her. The weight of terror settled on her like a heavy stone. Before she could react, the vehicle skidded to a halt, and figures emerged. They were stern-faced, dressed in dark suits, their movements precise and threatening. Ellie's breath quickened as she recognized one of them, a man she had seen in snapshots of family gatherings, a ghost of her past creeping back into existence. "Mason! What did you do?" she cried out, heart racing. "They know about her! They can't find out!" he yelled back, urgency creeping into his tone. The leader, tall and imposing, turned to Ellie, a sharp smile forming on his lips. "Ellie, darling, we finally found you." His voice was silky, yet the undertone sent shivers down her spine, an echo of danger wrapping around her heart. "Stay away from her!" Thomas shouted, stepping in front of Ellie, protectively, fists clenched. "Why should I?" the man asked, coolly. "She belongs with us. You have no idea who you're shielding, or what she truly is." The world tilted, and Ellie felt her legs weaken. What did he mean? Who was she? Mason stepped forward, his bravado crumbling. "Stop! Just let her go! You can't do this!" But the man only laughed, a sharp, cruel sound that rang in the growing darkness. "I'm afraid it's too late for that. You're all tied to a legacy you can't escape, Ellie." Ellie's head spun, confusion swirling like a storm inside. Legacy? What legacy? The truth clung to the air, thick with tension. She glanced up at Thomas, his eyes wide with horror, mirroring her own fears. With a swift motion, the man reached into his jacket, pulling out a small object shimmering under the fading light. He tossed it to the ground. It rolled, coming to a stop by Ellie's feet. Something about it felt familiar. A piece of jewelry, a pendant she couldn't quite place, yet it ignited a strange recollection deep within her. "What is this?" she whispered, kneeling to pick it up, her heartbeat roaring in her ears. The man's eyes glinted dangerously as he answered, "Your mother's, your real mother. And it holds the key to everything." A chill gripped Ellie's heart. Reality twisted and shifted, shattering her sense of self. The secrets buried deep within her began to claw their way to the surface, begging to be heard. "Ellie!" Thomas shouted, panic creeping into his voice. "Don't touch it!" But the world faded around her. All she could see was the pendant, and with it, the nagging sensation that everything she thought she knew, who she was, where she belonged, could vanish in an instant. As darkness descended, a question lingered in the air, heavy with dread. Could she trust anyone, even herself? Chapter 4. Ruptured Illusions. As Ellie reached for the pendant, a shiver rippled through her, cold and familiar, like the touch of a ghost. The man's voice echoed in her ears, relentless and unnerving. "It holds the key to everything." Her heart raced, each beat a countdown to something terrible. Ellie's fingers brushed the cold metal, and an electric surge shot through her. She froze. Flashes erupted in her mind, images of a life she could barely recall. Faces twisted in fury, a woman's laughter mingled with screams, flickering lights in the depths of the farmhouse. "Ellie!" Thomas shouted, his voice tearing through her haze. Panic radiated from his eyes, deepening the lines of worry across his forehead. "Don't!" It was too late. The moment she grasped the pendant, an ear-splitting crack split the air. The ground beneath her trembled. The lights flickered ominously, casting erratic shadows that danced chaotically around them. "Run!" Mason yelled, pure terror in his voice. Ellie couldn't move, rooted to the spot, as every instinct screamed at her to flee. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the pendant, and a deafening boom echoed outward. She raised her arms instinctively, shielding her face from an unseen force. When the light faded, the world felt altered, distorted, as if she had stepped into another reality. "What just happened?" Thomas whispered, his voice dripping with disbelief. Ellie blinked rapidly, disoriented. The figures in dark suits staggered back, confusion painting their faces. Then, the leader, a man once so imposing, gasped, eyes wide with horror. "No, it can't be!" A low thrum pulsed through the ground. A rushing wind erupted from nowhere, whipping Ellie's hair back, pulling at her clothes. The trees creaked ominously, bending toward her as if drawn by Anne. Unseen force. "What did you do?" Mason shrieked, his bravado reduced to a whimper. "You've broken it! You're too powerful!" A sudden clarity sliced through her fog. "Too powerful?" Ellie echoed, the weight of something monumental dawning on her. She could feel the power coursing through her veins, alive and chaotic. "What do you mean?" The leader recovered, shaking his head frantically. "You were never supposed to awaken. This is not how it was meant to go." Ellie felt a surge of panic, intertwining with an overwhelming anger. "What are you hiding from me?" The ground shook violently, sending all of them stumbling. Ellie's heart sank as the world around them distorted again, twisting into dark, unfamiliar shapes, like a reality unraveling. She thought she glimpsed echoes of faces, her mother's face, but it slipped away like sand through her fingers. "No!" she screamed, feeling the splinters of the truth piercing through her. "Tell me the truth!" "The truth is—" The leader swallowed hard, eyes darting toward the darkening woods, as if death itself were lurking. You're not just part of this legacy, Ellie. You are the legacy. You were born to control it." And with those words, a torrential downpour began, blurring all around them. The air thickened, suffocating, twisting Ellie's gut with dread. Was it possible? Every uncertainty suddenly coiled into a newfound revelation that churned in her brain. "Run! We have to go!" Thomas yelled, urgency coding his every syllable as the figures from the SUV stumbled backward. But as they turned to escape, the shadows began to expand, swirling around their ankles like dark water. A figure emerged from the depths, stepping forward from the edge of the trees, face half hidden in shadow. Ellie gasped, recognizing the features, a horrifying familiarity that made her blood run cold. It was her mother, but older, more menacing, eyes glinting with an unearthly light. "Ellie," she said, voice a seductive whisper that promised everything, yet threatened to consume. "You have come home." The truth hung heavy in the air, raw and unforgiving. Ellie felt her heart tear apart. Who was she really? And how could she trust? The very blood that ran through her. A flock of questions spiraled in her mind. Had she always been meant for this? Was the girl she thought she knew, her mother, now her greatest enemy? As the thunder rumbled, silence fell, leaving them standing at a perilous crossroads, the weight of destiny crashing down upon them. What would happen next? Chapter 5: Unraveling the Past. As Ellie stared at the specter of her mother, horror clawed up her throat. "How can this be?" she gasped, heart pounding in her chest like thunder. The woman before her radiated an unsettling power. Shadows danced in her eyes, casting doubts over Ellie's very existence. "Your return was always planned," her mother said, voice syrupy, smooth yet laced with an undercurrent of darkness. "You are the lifeblood of our legacy." "What do you mean?" Ellie croaked, confusion mixing with fear, tightening her chest. Would she be trapped in this twisted family forever? The man in the dark suit sneered, taking a step back. "That's just the beginning," he whispered, fear in his tone. "There's something you still don't know." Suddenly, the sky exploded with light, an unholy eruption. Blinding beams pierced through the clouds, casting an eerie glow on the scene. The ground trembled, shaking Ellie to her core. She stumbled as shadows crept forward, clutching at her ankles like desperate hands. "Get away from her!" Thomas roared, desperation flooding his voice. He moved to shield Ellie, but the darkness enveloped him too. "Mason, we need to get out!" Ellie cried, trying to pull away. But Mason stood frozen, eyes locked onto the shimmering pendant still clutched in her hand. "Ellie," he said slowly, dread staining his voice. "You don't understand what's at stake. We're all in danger." Before she could respond, a bone-chilling scream pierced the air. Ellie whipped around, and her heart dropped. A figure stumbled from the darkness, his body frail and bloodied. With every shaky step, the familiarity hit her like a punch to the gut. "Dad!" Ellie screamed. recognizing the face she thought she'd lost forever. "Ellie," he croaked, voice ragged. "You have to leave. They want you." "They're coming." Her heart raced. "Dad, what happened?" She wanted to reach for him, wrap him in her arms, but her feet felt glued to the ground, terror gripping her. "They've awakened something in you," he said, agony in his eyes. "I thought you were safe, but—" He staggered, breath hitching as the darkness swirled closer, pulling him into its depths. "No!" Ellie cried, dodging forward, but a force slammed her back. "Don't be a fool!" her mother shouted, voice rising above the chaos. "He's still part of it." "Part of what?" Ellie demanded, desperation rising like bile in her throat. "What is the truth?" Her father's gaze locked onto hers, pleading and terrified. "You must remember, Ellie. 3 years ago, when you left." Suddenly, a crack split the air, and Ellie gasped as a shimmering portal opened behind her father. A vortex of colors that pulled at the very fabric of reality emerged. "That's not possible," the man gasped, eyes wide with fear. "You can't open the gate!" Ellie felt a surge of an energy she hadn't known before. The pendant pulsed in her hand, resonating with a strange power that sent chills down her spine. "What is happening?" she screamed, emotions swirling in a tempest. Her mother's expression shifted, revealing a flicker of fear. "No, you're not ready." But Ellie's heart pounded with determination, something clicking inside her. If she didn't act, she could lose everything. Family she never wanted, and a truth she'd long ignored. In that moment, she threw the pendant towards the portal, screaming, "I choose my own path!" Time stilled. As the pendant clashed with the light, an ear-splitting roar echoed. Everything erupted into chaos. Shadows converged, faces twisted in panic, as the world cracked open around them like a fragile eggshell. And in the chaos, a new revelation loomed, even more terrifying than the last. What if she wasn't meant to belong? What if she was meant to destroy them all? The ground quaked beneath Ellie's feet. All at once, she was engulfed in blinding light and silence. And in that instant, all she could think was, "What have I done?" Chapter 6, Breaking Point. Light exploded around Ellie, filling the air with a blinding glow. She felt weightless, like being pulled in all directions, hovering between realities. The shadows swirled angrily, thrashing like a tempest. Panic surged in her, and she screamed against the chaos swirling in her mind. "Ellie!" Thomas's voice cut through, but it felt distant, muffled. "Hold on!" In a moment, the light exploded into 1,000 shards, each one a memory. Flashes of laughter, pain and twisted truths. A time before. Before all this. Before the farmhouse and the curse. Ellie felt a cord deep inside her snap, and suddenly everything changed. The ground trembled beneath her. An unfamiliar voice echoed separately, cutting through. The chaos! A voice so piercing it made her heart ache. "She is here." With a violent lurch, the light shattered, revealing a swirling mass of darkness, whispering the very secrets that had long remained hidden. Suddenly, a figure stepped forward. A woman. Familiar, yet terrifying. Ellie felt her breath catch. It was her mother, but different. Wilder. "What?" Ellie gasped, confusion tearing through her. "Your true self," her mother said, eyes blazing with an otherworldly glow. "You've unlocked it. You are not just the key. You are the lock. You were meant to protect this world, Ellie. What are you talking about? Ellie stumbled back, her hands trembling. I don't understand. This isn't just about bloodlines, sweet girl. Her mother said softly, but the power behind her words sent ripples through the air. This is about fate. Fate? Ellie's mind reeled. Doubt crashed over her like a tidal wave. Was this her mother? Her father was practically screaming at her to run. The man in the suit shuddered, his face a mask of horror. No, this is not how it was supposed to happen. And then it hit her, a vicious wave of realization. You've been lying to me, she shouted, anger igniting like fire in her veins. All of you. No, Ellie, we've been protecting you, Thomas shouted, desperation lacing his voice. You don't know what you could unleash. Protecting? Ellie growled, rage flooding her senses. Or controlling? But before anyone could respond, the ground exploded beneath them, like a volcano awakening. Ellie barely had time to register the pain as rocky debris flew into the air. Around her, chaos erupted anew. Screams mixed with the crackling of the earth. Mason! She yelled, eyes wide as she searched for him. The shadows closed in like a living nightmare, threatening to engulf everything in darkness. Then Mason's face appeared, panic-stricken. Ellie. They're not just family. They're part of something ancient. They want control. They'll use you. In that moment, her mother screamed. You must choose, Ellie! Choose? Her heart pounded as she scanned the terrible scene. A choice between loyalty and freedom. A choice between safety and danger. And then the world shattered again. Thunder boomed like Judgment Day, and Ellie felt the pendant slip from her fingers, falling into the crack that had opened in the earth. No! She cried, reaching for it. But everything tilted as the shadow screamed, and her mother lunged to grab her. In a heartbeat, Ellie felt a surge of energy spill from her, cascading in brilliant waves that surged through the air. The ground shook violently with the intensity of her emotions. Ellie, don't! Thomas's voice broke sharply through the chaos. But in that instant, another shock hit her. The shadows began to recede, and the light expanded. Those who had once been in the darkness were pushed back, unable to withstand the force radiating from her core. Then, the unthinkable happened. As the light swallowed the darkness, a figure emerged from the gloom. Her father, desperately clawing through the storm, eyes wide and wild. Ellie, please, I should have told you. You're not just the legacy. You're the one who left it. You broke the cycle. The words sunk in like daggers. Her father had hidden the truth? Suddenly, everything shifted. The love, the lies, the control. They all coalesced into a single realization. She wasn't just a pawn. She was the key to something far greater. What do you mean? Ellie's voice cracked, emotions colliding. What did you do? Before he could reply, a searing light enveloped them again. And through it all, Ellie felt herself teetering on the edge of understanding. If they had all lied, then what else had she never known? Her heart raced with questions. If her past could shatter so easily, what would that mean for her future? The ground quaked, threats whirling around her, pulling her deeper into uncertainties. In the crescendo of terror and hope, Ellie was left gasping, desperate to grasp the truth amid the chaos. The question thundered in her mind. Demanding an answer, would she finally uncover the reality of her existence? Or would she lose everything in the attempt? Chapter 7: A Slip into Chaos. As the light consumed Ellie, the world became a blur. Fractured memories whirled around her like autumn leaves caught in a tempest. She felt the weight of confusion pressing down, suffocating her. Was she meant to control this chaos or unleash it? Ellie! Thomas's voice cut through the fog. She could see him, a figure straining against the tide of shadows. His face was desperate, eyes wide with fear. You have to fight this. But fight what? What was awakening inside her? The energy surged like wildfire, pulsing through her veins, more than she'd ever known. It felt both thrilling and terrifying. I can't, she yelled back, trembling. I don't understand any of this. Then something shifted in the air. A chill ran down her spine, sharper than the biting wind. The ground roared beneath them, trembling violently, as if every foundation was crumbling. The darkness flared, twisting like a living beast. Ellie's heart raced. Maybe her choice had consequences she couldn't even begin to fathom. Suddenly, a piercing voice rose above the chaos, slicing through the storm. You were never meant to control it, Ellie. You were meant to harness it. It was her mother, but not the mother Ellie had thought she knew. The shadows coiled around her. And at that moment, the realization hit like a slap. You've been using me all this time? Not using, her mother replied, voice steady and cold. You were born for this. You have a power beyond your comprehension. Stop. You're lying! Ellie didn't want to believe it, but the truth tugged at her heart. The ground shook again, more violently, and the darkness spilled closer. It felt like they were at the edge of something dreadful, and she was terrified of what might come next. Then, with an awful clarity, Ellie turned to her father. Is it true? Is she right? Am I really special? His eyes hardened, and she could see the conflict raging within him. Ellie, listen to me! No, just tell me the truth! She screamed, every word laced with desperation. He hesitated, and in that moment the shadows surged. You're not just our daughter. You're the embodiment of an ancient line. We protected you. Protected? Ellie echoed, her throat tightening. You kept me blind. The truth struck harder than any blow. The earth roared as if it felt her rage. Then the unimaginable happened. A dark figure broke free from the swirling shadows, slicing through the winds like a knife. It was Mason, eyes wide and desperate. But he wasn't alone. Another figure emerged beside him, a woman cloaked in darkness. Help! Mason shouted. They're coming for her. Ellie's heart sank. Who's coming? At that moment, the cloaked woman stepped forward. I've been waiting for you, Ellie. The voice was eerily familiar, yet warped. Who are you? Ellie stammered, confusion and fear tightening her chest. With a flick of her wrist, the woman revealed her face. Ellie's breath caught in her throat. It was her mother, the one she thought she'd lost. This puppet show is over, darling. You! Ellie's voice cracked, disbelief flooding her. Yes, this is the truth. I am your true lineage, your real destiny. The shadows writhed around her, as if obeying her command. A sinister smile crept across her lips. What? How? Ellie felt her knees weaken, her world spinning. But before she could grasp the implications, the earth shuddered again, this time violently. Stay back! Thomas shouted, stepping in front of Ellie, a protective shield. "You're not going near her." "No! Get out of the way!" Mason yelled, panic rising. But before anyone could react, the ground cracked open with a deafening roar, the darkness spreading like an ink spill across a page. Ellie felt herself being pulled into the darkness, a powerful force gripping her. It was more than fear. It was confusion and a dawning horror. "No!" she cried out. As the shadows pulled her in, she caught a final glimpse of her mother's face. Eyes glowing with a promise of power, but not one she wanted. "You were born from darkness, Ellie. Don't fight it any longer." And in that moment, the world fell away. What had she unleashed? What had she become? What did it mean for everyone she loved? The shadows swallowed her whole. Silence. And then, darkness. Chapter 8. Shattered Realities. The darkness tightened around Ellie like a vice, cold and suffocating. She gasped, fighting against the grip that felt like hands dragging her down into an abyss. Everything blurred, voices muted, colors faded. Panic clawed at her throat. Then, just as suddenly as it began, everything stopped. The darkness froze. Silence filled the void. Ellie blinked, bewildered, as the shadows around her began to dissipate. Light crept through the dimness, soft and familiar. She found herself standing in the middle of a bright, sunlit meadow. Daisies swayed gently in the breeze, their golden faces turned to the sun. Everything felt wrong. This wasn't right. "Ellie?" a soft voice called, and she spun around, her heart racing. It was her mother, standing there, but something looked off. A flicker of hesitation crossed her face. "You're safe now. You need to understand." "Why am I here?" Ellie interrupted, anger flooding her. "What game are you playing?" Her mother looked pained, but not for long. The shadows returned, quickly swallowing the meadow whole. This time, Ellie felt a burning sensation in her chest. It was like fire caught in her veins. "Ellie!" Thomas's voice surged through the darkness, desperate and raw. He grasped for her, fingertips brushing against her hands. His eyes gleamed with fear. "Stay with me. Stay with you. I don't know who to trust," she cried out, feeling the walls. A reality shift? Could it all just be a lie? What was this place even? But before she could take a breath, the shadows coalesced into a figure. The cloaked woman, her mother, stepped forward again, words dripping with malice. "You were born to lead, Ellie, to take your place among us, but you've resisted too long." The revelation felt like ice water poured down her spine. "You mean I was just a pawn?" she spat, her heart racing with betrayal. "No, you are so much more." The woman's face twisted, fury igniting in her eyes. "You're powerful, Ellie. Powerful enough to shape the future." "I don't want to shape any future," Ellie shouted. "I just want to be me." Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the air, like thunder. The shadows recoiled, trembling around her. The ground shuddered and Ellie stumbled. Then came an unexpected blast of light. A beam shooting from the sky, unlike anything she'd ever seen. Ellie shielded her eyes as everything exploded into a swirl of color. When the brilliance faded, she found herself back in the farmhouse, standing exactly where she had. before she was pulled into the darkness. But everything had shifted. The room looked different, the air thick with tension. "Ellie," Thomas's voice was a whisper, trembling. "Thomas?" her heart thundered. "What happened?" His face was paler than she'd ever seen, eyes wide with horror. "They're not who they say they are?" "What do you mean?" Before he could answer, walls began to shake. Shadows danced in the corners. Then, from the darkness, another figure emerged. But no one could have expected this. It was Mason. But he was different. His skin shimmered like glass, eyes flickering like a distant star. He stepped forward, and Ellie felt a chill run down her spine. "Ellie," he said, voice both haunting and serene. "You need to listen to me. Everything you think you know, it's a lie." "What?" Ellie's mouth dried, confusion clawing through her. "Your mother isn't just your mother. She's the source of all this chaos. She's been manipulating everything, including you," Mason revealed, his voice echoing with an otherworldly timbre. "No! No!" Her breath caught as she felt her heart wrench. "What are you saying?" Mason stepped closer, his form shimmering. "You are not just a part of this legacy. You are the culmination of powers that have been hidden. You and I—" "Stop!" Ellie shook her head, struggling to grapple with this new twist. "What are you?" "I am the truth," Mason said, his eyes darkening. "We are bound together, Ellie, by blood and fate." Her world collapsed further as Mason reached out, fingers brushing against hers. The connection sparked, illuminating shadows. She gasped as visions flooded. He whispered, "All along." The walls trembled violently, darkness howling like a storm, threatening to consume them all. Ellie felt the ground give way beneath her, shaking memories ricocheting through the silence. As everything around her began to fracture, she clutched at the reality that was slipping through her fingers. With this shocking revelation, a question clawed at her mind. Who was she, really, and who could she trust? In that moment, nothing felt certain. Only chaos awaited. Chapter 9. The Fragile Truth. Ellie's heart raced. Reality twisted around her as she stared into Mason's shimmering eyes. "You?" The words were barely a whisper, choked by disbelief. "You're tied to this chaos?" "Yes," he said slowly, the weight of his gaze piercing. "And you have to stop her." Her mother's figure loomed in the background, shadows clinging like a second skin, shifting and curling around her. "I won't let you. You're mine, Ellie." The fury rippled through the air, crackling like static electricity. "Stop!" Thomas shouted, stepping forward. His voice cracked as he pulled Ellie close. "You don't have to choose between them." Ellie's heart screamed in panic. Was she fighting against her own blood? The shadows twisted closer, transforming into nightmarish faces, whispering haunting secrets. "Ellie, listen," Mason urged, and she felt something, an urgency, a desperation in his tone. "Your choices will change everything. You're the key to ending this, for us all." Dark eyes locked onto hers. "Stop! You don't understand," her mother cried out, voice sharp as glass. "Mason's been lying to you." "No! Enough!" Ellie felt her chest tighten, every breath like a weight. "Stop pushing me. I need to think." And then, as if the universe echoed her internal turmoil, the ground beneath them surged violently. Ellie's feet stumbled, and she fell onto the shaky wooden floor, landing hard. Pain shot through her knee, but the sensations cut through the chaos, grounding her. Suddenly, a massive crack rent the air. Everything froze momentarily, a pause in time as their eyes widened. Then, like shattering glass, the walls of the farmhouse splintered. A blinding light erupted from the seams, swallowing all darkness in its path. "Ellie, get out!" Thomas's shout was drowned by the roaring wind. The ceiling above cracked open, revealing not just the sky, but something far worse. Figures descended, shadows materializing, faces and bodies darting through the light. "Mother," a voice hissed, dripping with malice. "You've kept her from us for too long." Ellie looked up, terror gripping her as the shadows twisted closer. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating, as realization hit her. These were not ordinary shadows. They were her family, remnants of a legacy entwined with darkness. "No!" Mason yelled, moving to shield her. "You can't let them in!" With all her strength, Ellie stood, heart pounding. "I won't be your pawn anymore." The fire surged inside her, igniting her resolve like never before. But as she shouted, a blinding flash erupted, and in an instant, everything changed. The shadows surged, wrapping themselves around her, pulling her deep into a void. Then she saw it, her mother and father standing hand in hand, their forms flickering like broken TV screens. "You were never meant to leave," her mother hissed, her voice echoing hollowly. "It's time to come home." A bolt of panic shot through Ellie, and as she drew in breath, she felt a tug at her core. The realization hit her like the weight of 1,000 stones. "No! No!" But it was too late. As the light of the void faded, Ellie found herself standing in the remnants of the farmhouse, alone. The shadows whispered around her, weaving tales of heartbreak. Where were her mother and father? They had been there a moment ago. "Ellie," a soft voice broke the silence. "You chose." She looked around, trembling. "Mason, where are you?" His voice echoed through the dark. "You've sealed your fate. They will come for you." A shudder raced through her. The shadows danced, becoming more alive, creeping toward her. Suddenly, the ground split open beneath her, and her heart dropped. "Ellie!" Thomas's voice rang out. The light flickered again, and Ellie felt a surge of power ripple through her, consuming everything she thought she knew. In the blink of an eye, she stood in the meadow again, but something was different. A chilling presence hung in the air, darker than before. A familiar figure stepped out. It was Mason, but his face had twisted into a cruel grin. "Welcome to the real world, Ellie. The game has only just begun." Before Ellie could respond, the colors around her shifted, darkening. Everything she thought was true splintered like glass. A truth she couldn't fathom curled in her gut, leaving only one haunting question ringing in her ears. Had she just become the very thing she feared? Ellie felt the ground tremble beneath her as she stood in the wreckage of the farmhouse. The air was thick with swirling shadows, and the echoes of her family's past taunted her. "No more," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. "I won't let you control me any longer." Mason's presence felt amplified, shimmering with energy as he moved closer. "Ellie, You have the power to break this cycle. You're not just the key. You're the one who can rewrite the ending. The cloak of darkness hissed, writhing in frustration. You think you can escape your fate? You're bound to us. Her mother's voice boomed, a grim reminder of the lineage Ellie couldn't deny. No, Ellie shouted, fists clenched. Tears streamed down her face, hot and real. I may be part of this legacy, but I'll forge my own path. I choose who I want to be. In that moment, he felt it, an electric pulse surging through her body. It was raw, powerful, and she channeled all her determination into one thought. She had the ability to reshape her destiny. The shadows shrieked in agony as light erupted from within her, pushing against the dark tendrils that sought to ensnare her. Ellie! Thomas's voice broke through, shining with hope. He reached out, eyes filled with love and trust. You're stronger than this. Stand firm. She turned to him, and suddenly his strength coursed through her veins, giving her the courage she needed. Together, she yelled. We can do this together. Mason stepped beside her, nodding fiercely. His shimmering form reflected a unity that strengthened them. Let's end this before it consumes us. Ellie released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding, focusing on the bond between them. Now, with a heart-pounding shout, she unleashed her power, sending a wave of light that shattered the darkness around them. The shadows writhed in agony, fading against the brilliance radiating from Ellie's core. I choose my own family, she declared, her voice echoing like a battle cry. The air crackled with energy as the dark figures melted away, their whispers replaced by silence. The farmhouse trembled, then fell still. The weight of her past began to lift, and Ellie blinked against the residual light, feeling the warmth of hope flooding back into her heart. As the haze receded, she blinked. Before her stood her parents. There was no malice in their eyes, only understanding and regret. Ellie, her mother said softly, we never meant to ensnare you. It was all to protect you from a darker fate. I know, Ellie replied, her voice steadier, but I have to find my own way now. We can't keep living in the shadows. Her father stepped forward, pride gleaming in his eyes. Then go. Create your own story. Just remember, we're here if you need us. With a final look at her parents, Ellie felt a sense of peace wash over her. They had always been her legacy. But now she was free to forge her own path. As she turned to leave the farmhouse behind, Thomas and Mason followed closely, hope lighting their way. What's next? Thomas asked, curiosity dancing in his gaze. Ellie smiled, determination brimming in her chest. Whatever I decide, the world is wide open now. And as they stepped into the dawn's light, the shadows of the past began to fade, replaced by a vibrant horizon. They still had questions to answer, but for the first time, they had a future painted with possibility. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss upcoming exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now.